We wrap up the first day here at the Humans to Mars Summit for 2016 from George Washington University. It has been quite a day. You just saw a very good wrap-up by Scott Hubbard, the former Mars czar of NASA, and a little bit of a dialogue with Buzz Aldrin, another guy who spoke here today. That was a fascinating way to finish up. We're going to come back here in about 2 minutes with Bill Nye the Science Guy and a couple of very special guests who will join Bill and me to wrap up the day. Before that, though, another sponsor of Humans to Mars, the summit, is Orbital ATK, the Cygnus people. And we're going to show a video from them that will just take a couple of minutes. It's called We Are Flight Systems Group. We're going to roll that now and be right back with Bill Nye.
Flight Systems Group. Our dedication and commitment to our customers goes beyond delivering a high-tech product. It is part of our culture. It's who we are.
We are hazards analysts.
We are quality assurance technicians.
We are mechanical engineers.
We are autoclave operations.
As engineers, we are defined by what we build.
We are engineering the future.
We are Orbital ATK Flight Systems Group.
We are architects of advanced technology and push the limits of design and engineering, resulting in high-tech patents for materials and processes and improved systems.
We innovate. It's what we do, and we have the patents to prove it.
We are solid rocket propellant experts and produce propulsion and specialty energetic products for space, defense, and commercial applications.
We are rocket scientists.
We manufacture the largest solid rocket motor ever designed for flight.
I'm a chemist, and I develop energetics that are both powerful and safe.
It's imperative that our products work correctly every time.
We are Flight Systems Group.
We are leaders in aerospace structures and create cutting-edge composite structures for commercial and military aircraft and space launch vehicles.
We are revolutionizing the way composite structures are made.
Our work is contributing to the future of aviation.
Our composite technology helps provide U.S. fighter pilots with the most advanced aircraft possible.
We make commercial aircraft stronger, lighter, and more fuel efficient. Our products carry people all over the world every day.
Our engineers and technicians manage full vehicle integration, testing, and flight operations of launch vehicles for civil, commercial, and defense customers.
We are cable assemblers.
Precision is key when building cables for launch vehicles.
There are no redos in rocketry. Very important for us to do it right the first time, every time.
We have highly qualified people at every level. Everyone here is a professional. It's who we are, and we're proud of what we do.
We are Flight Systems Group.
We are experts in flight certification and acceptance through testing that involves both performance and quality tests on components systems.
Testing verifies data related to performance, reliability, and safety.
We test before we fly to help ensure mission success.
The customers we serve can count on our people and products to achieve mission success.
Our products defend America 24/7, 365 days a year.
We stand ready to support the nation's strategic deterrence.
We produce reliable and affordable launch vehicles for civil, DoD, and commercial missions.
Our launch vehicles are the industry standard for boosting small payloads to orbit.
I'm a pilot for Orbital ATK. I fly the L-1011 Stargazer, carrier aircraft for the Pegasus rocket.
We support America's space program with our Antares rocket and Cygnus spacecraft.
We're building NASA's Space Launch System for the next generation of explorers to take us to Mars and beyond.
Orion spacecraft paving the way for missions to deep space.
Our people, our products. We are Flight Systems Group.
Orbital ATK with We Are Flight Systems Group, coming to you, as we've said, from the very end of the first day, just the first day, of the Humans to Mars Summit here at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. I am joined now by my boss, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Welcome.
Good to see you, Matt. Did you have nothing but fun here today?
I had nothing but fun. What a great crowd to be part of, and nice people to talk to.
Yeah, the few, yeah. So we looked at what it would take to explore Mars today with people. It's very, very cool.
You talked about some of the practical concerns. I mean, there was no lack of optimism, but there are things we need to do, and we need to do them, what'd you say, all at once?
All at once. And everybody, we got to keep in mind, and I'm not kidding, we can't violate the Prime Directive. There's a treaty from 1967, the Space Treaty, about not contaminating other worlds. And when that treaty was mentioned, or was written, the first mentioned world is the moon. Before people were thinking so practically about Mars and so on. So this is a very important consideration before you go sending human microbes all over the surface of another world. And along that line, we presented the Planetary Society's ideas showing that you could go to Mars, in orbit around Mars in 2033 without an extraordinary increase in the NASA budget, which is just something to keep in mind, that it's not that expensive if you decided to do it.
And something that Scott Hubbard, that former Mars czar, talked about in his
Remember the board of the Planetary Society also mentioned that, yeah.
I got a couple of questions for you before I bring up the two special guests that I mentioned in a little bit of a tease earlier. Here's one from Hitchens in our online audience. If we send robots and they find no signs of life on Mars, shouldn't we then be perfectly fine sending up humans to mess the place up like Mark Watney did?
I guess so, but it's also very reasonable to me that you could find signs of life and send humans. That these two things are incompatible, they just have to be managed. I'm imagining you'd have refuges based on Martian weather, and you may make enough discoveries where you're satisfied that you really can't contaminate it because the surface is so sterilizing. So many cosmic rays and so much radiation and so much dehydration and so much bitter cold that it kills every Earth thing anyway. That could be. So this is worth investigating. One does not necessarily preclude the other.
And we may get a chance to ask Mark Whitney's creator about that question in a moment. I just got one more, this one from Bill from, looks like Madison High School in Arizona. Back to your science guy days. Wants to know, of all the experiments you've conducted, what was your favorite?
Matt, we don't have, or Bill rather, we don't have a favorite. You can't say you have a favorite. I loved them all. That's why we did them all. I will say, though, I will encourage you to note that I was writing and doing demonstrations on television about climate change over 20 years ago, 1993. So I was doing it back then based on planetary science. We discovered things about the climate of Venus, the climate of Mars and the climate of the Earth, that indicate that the greenhouse effect is what keeps the Earth habitable for us. And if you add carbon dioxide at 10 to the 6th, or 1 million times faster than it would normally get there, the Earth's climate is going to change especially fast. That was discovered through planetary science. So the demonstrations I did about greenhouse effect are near and dear to me, Bill. Go get them, Madison High School.
We mentioned one board member of the Planetary Society. We got another one here.
No, really?
Yeah, he's the spitting image of the emergency medical hologram from Star Trek Voyager, Robert Picardo. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Matt. If we learned one thing today...
Don't take my microphone.
If we learned one thing today, it's you're a waste on the radio. We've got to put you on camera all the time. What an incredible job you did.
Well, speaking of being on camera, shameless plug for the Planetary Society and something new that you're doing for that group. What is that?
Well, it's not shameless to me. That's why I'm here. I have a new video feature. It's part of a free newsletter that you can subscribe to, and the word is free. It's called the Planetary Post, and this month's feature, which just uploaded yesterday, is a visit to JPL. I take 2 young students there to meet female scientists at JPL, and we have a really extraordinary and empowering day. So I recommend everyone to subscribe. It's free.
And how much does it cost?
I believe nothing.
And sometimes this guy is your guest.
Yes, for my premiere posting, Bill was my guest. I learned so much from him that day that I don't need him anymore.
Now, you guys, check us out. The Planetary Society, our mission is to advance space science and exploration. And for me, we want to get everyone in the world to appreciate what I like to call our place in space, to know the cosmos and our place within it. And this is where I claim space exploration brings out the best in us, and it's inherently optimistic. And if we were to discover evidence of life on Mars, or stranger still, something alive on Mars, it would change the way every human on Earth feels about being alive in the cosmos. And this is a worthy use of our intellect and treasure, and I'm honored to know you two gentlemen. I'm honored to work with you.
I am honored, and I'm very, very sorry that I touched your microphone, Matt.
Thank you. You can make it up to me by taking a half-step stage left to make room for our second and I think final special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the #1 best-selling author of The Martian, Andy Weir.
Hey, how you doing? I think Bob's right. You really are wasted on TV. I don't know what
face for radio is usually the line.
Wasted in whatever medium.
Come down stage a little.
Okay, there we are. I don't know what he followed that with, but that first part was definitely right. No.
All right, so that question that I asked Bill, it was your guy, Mark Watney, who went up there and just totally fouled Mars, violated every planetary protection principle. What do you think? How quickly, from that planetary protection standpoint, is it safe for us to send people?
Well, it's a bit of a touchy subject because people are fairly divided on it. I'm actually not a huge fan of planetary protection at all. I think that, I know this is contrary to a lot of people's opinions, but I think that if you kind of look at it from a Drake equation point of view of what are the odds that Earth life could survive the trip to Mars, what are the odds that Earth life could survive entry? What are the odds that it could survive out on the surface? What are the odds that it could find something to eat on Mars so that it could reproduce? What are the odds it could survive Mars's natural environment and the radiation and all those other things? I think that the odds of us even being able to infect Mars at all are so small that it's not worth the tremendous amount of effort we put into cleaning things before sending them. I know I'm in the minority on that, but that is my opinion.
Well, unless you send some jerk who starts tearing open plastic bags and planting potatoes.
Well, in defense of the opposition, I will say they never have the idea that we will never have any ecological effect on Mars. Mostly what they're saying is, if there is any life on Mars, we want to get a good look at it before we ruin it with a bunch of Earth life. That's the opposing argument. Now, what I'm saying is, you've got a planet. It's Mars. It's big. So, yeah, you want your surgeon to wash his hands before he gives you heart surgery, but you don't need a gas station attendant in Bangladesh to wash his hands before your surgeon in New York gives you heart surgery. It's a planet. It's big. It's okay to affect one small part of it with a mission.
I love it. Any counterpoint, gentlemen?
His philosophy is fine, but we have a treaty, so let's honor it and negotiate. Just keep that in mind before you start building hardware and landing there.
And also, you know, we're going to have to take away your Star Trek fan card if you say that about the Prime Directive. You know, we just, that'll be it.
You'll be devastated.
Yeah, I guess so. That's pretty rough. But yes, as Bill says, I mean, obviously we have to abide by any treaties that we've signed, but treaties can be renegotiated with the consent of all the involved parties, and maybe 1967 was a bit long time ago, and it's time to revisit some of these things with negotiation and consent from all the signatories.
Before I ask all of you for your feelings about the agenda that we just finished today, the fascinating presentations, are you allowed to talk about what you're up to next?
Sure. I mean, I'm working on my next book now. It takes place in the 2080s, 2090s time frame. It takes place in a city on the moon, and I came up with what I consider a plausible and reasonable economic purpose for a city on the moon, which is always a stickler for me when I'm reading sci-fi. And the main character is a woman who is a low-level criminal in that city. She's like hopefully going for the lovable rogues, you know, archetype.
I hope she ends up doing the right thing.
You'll have to get the book.
Yeah. I wonder if I can get it signed.
All right, let's close out with this. Any highlights that you want to call out from today? Anything really stand out for any or all of you?
Meeting you, really. It's just been my dream to see you once again, as we've met many times in the past.
I'm speechless. I'm so touched, Bob.
Even though you don't have that hat.
Yeah, he steals hats. What can I say? That one's not mine.
Well, I particularly love Andy's panel about you know, how Hollywood influences our passion in exploration and how it just got us all, you know, juiced up to go to Mars. So that was particularly great. And I love Scott's summary of the day. But all the panels were interesting. So I found the whole thing very enlightening. And, you know, as a lay person who, you know, has to run sometimes to keep up, most of it was pretty clear to me.
Didn't you really get into this or start to get into all this when you were pretending to fly across the galaxy?
Well, I was first approached, I guess, in the late 90s to become an advisory board member. I think I did a couple of fundraisers for the Planetary Society, and I just met such cool people that I wanted to go on. And now that I'm on the board, you know, I thank myself every day for the incredible opportunities that were, you know, that being on an old science fiction show puts me in proximity to such incredibly cool people like today. So yes, I feel blessed, honored, and lucky.
Bill, last word.
Just that everybody showed up. There's so many people fascinated with this idea of sending people to Mars is really gratifying. Because I say, it's optimistic and it brings out the best in us. Let's go.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Robert Picardo, member of the board of the Planetary Society and renowned actor. And Andy...
Some guy.
Yeah, Weir.
Yeah, some guy.
Author of The Martian. Which, you know, I have lots and lots of people who tell me that, that this is what it's all about. That's why we're in this game. That's why we're going to Mars. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today. We're going to be back tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, right where you're watching this now, with the second full day of activity here at the Humans to Mars Summit, coming to you live at the moment from George Washington University here in Washington, D.C. Now, we've got another video for you while we get some other things done downstairs, and there will be more live action tonight, I almost forgot to say. First, we're going to show you a video from Living Maths, these great folks based down in South Africa who do all kinds of terrific stuff online. You can visit their website and see much more of the kind of stuff that you're about to see now. This is going to be an interview with Sam Shamimi. That's how they told me it's pronounced, Sam Shamimi. And this will take us up to right about 7 o'clock. when we will be back in this room at GWU for another panel discussion with more really distinguished folks. The topic will be, in what decade will we land on Mars? And it will be led, I think, by Rick Tumlinson, quite a history at the I don't know, how do I want to put this? Space Frontier Foundation, but I was thinking on the edge, the bleeding edge of what we should be doing in outer space. Joe Cassidy and Robert Zubrin. And if you don't know that name, you probably don't really follow Mars exploration or wanting to send humans there. That's until 7:45. Then at 7:45, another panel, Envisioning Mars, an interactive conversation. Janet Ivey, Abigail, astronaut Abby Harrison, who we heard from earlier today, Vera Miliani, and Holly Malier. So much more to come tonight. Again, we will be back for another full day tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you again soon.